Just a loser. No one loves me. The baby hates me. The baby is crying all day. My husband thinks I'm fat and ugly. You see where I'm going with this negative trail here? Welcome, Your Highness, to QueenMeJC. I am your host, Queen Ash, and on this channel, we help women, especially women of color, to become quality kingdom queens through faith, femininity, beauty, and lifestyle excellence. If you are a returning subscriber, welcome, queens. And if you're new here, go ahead and press that subscribe button and hit that bell notification so you will not miss our weekly kingdom sessions. Today's video is part of my lifestyle series dealing with mental health. And in particular, we're going to be talking about postpartum depression. So before we get into the video, I just want to go ahead and put that disclaimer out there because nowadays we do need disclaimers. No, I am not a certified or licensed psychologist or psychiatrist or anything of that nature. And I'm not a certified doctor or anything like that. Even though I have a minor in psychology, I am not any of those things. I am only telling you my experience and the experience of the women near and dear that I love that are around me that are experiencing some of these things. So my best advice to you is that if you're feeling any of these symptoms or if you're going through any of these things, be sure to schedule an appointment with your PCM. Also, I would like to say before we continue that I am so proud of all of you moms out there. If you've just had your baby and you are experiencing any of these symptoms, I want you to know that you are loved, you are worthy, you are beautifully and wonderfully made, and you have done an excellent and amazing job bringing life into this world. And I commend you greatly for such a task. And I love you. God loves you, and you are worthy to receive these compliments and this gift. So now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about this five symptoms that I would like to share with you if you're experiencing postpartum depression. Depression is a mental health condition in which an individual will experience low moods, feelings of guilt, deep feelings of sadness, and they're unable to do their everyday functioning like washing your face, brushing your teeth, getting up and going to work, and things of that nature. Now, when we're talking about postpartum depression, as I stated before, it's simply depression, but you're experiencing it after having a child. I'm going to talk to you all about 5 of the signs that you should look out for, and I'm going to explain the difference between postpartum depression and baby blues, because you may be experiencing baby blues and not necessarily postpartum depression. Now, when we're talking about baby blues, you're experiencing some of the same symptoms that you're experiencing with depression, but the major difference between baby blues and postpartum depression is the longevity of your symptoms and the intensity of your symptoms. So for example, baby blues, you may feel as if after you've given birth to your baby, you feel as if you're overwhelmed with this sense of sadness, you feel some guilt, you find yourself crying a lot, and you in a stage where you feel as if you don't want to interact with your baby, but this particular mood is only happening for a short duration of time. When you're experiencing baby blues, you're still able to function. You're still able to get up, wash your face, brush your teeth, tend to yourself, tend to your child or children. If you have other children, you're still able to move quite a bit. Okay, you're not debilitated or nothing is hindering you for going about your usual day. However, this is when you're actually experiencing postpartum depression. Now, postpartum depression is much more severe than baby blues. So one of our first symptoms we're going to talk about is overwhelming sadness. And this is an indicator that you could be experiencing postpartum depression. Now, when I'm talking about overwhelming sadness, Let's be honest, we all know what sadness feels like. However, if you find yourself crying all the time, you're crying in the morning, you're crying in the afternoon, you're crying in the evening, you're finding yourself crying and you don't really understand why you're crying, or if you're frustrated and you're irritable because of the baby and you just feel so overwhelmed with just sadness and grief, as if you have lost someone near and dear to you, this is kind of teetering along the edge of postpartum depression. Now, this intensity of sadness is great, because when you're experiencing baby blues, it's not as overwhelming as postpartum depression sadness. Okay, so this type of sadness is absolutely debilitating. You feel as if you do not want to do anything. You don't want to wake up. You don't want to go to sleep. You don't want to brush your teeth. You don't want to wash your face. You don't want to bathe yourself. Okay, this sadness has completely consumed you. And this is happening to you every single day for weeks, for months, even up to a year, sometimes even more than a year. This is what it feels like to have postpartum depression and not baby blues. So, take some time to monitor how how often you're crying. If you cannot get absolutely any sleep because you're crying day in and day out, then make that a mental note, or write down on a pad that this is something that you need to look out for and discuss with your doctor. The next symptom or indicator that you could be suffering from postpartum depression is that self-neglect. Like I said, if you're feeling that overwhelming sadness, it's going to kind of lead you into the territory of self-neglect. Now, we all know that self-care and self-maintenance is important. If you are not taking care of yourself in the way that you should, your body will immediately break down. You will start experiencing a lot of mental, physical, and emotional health issues and disorders. So self-care and self-maintenance is important. Again, we're talking about that brushing your teeth, washing your face, cleansing your body, wearing fresh clothes each and every day. We're talking about being able to get up and move around, to work out, to eat nutritious meals each and every day. That is what I mean when I talk about self-care. Now remember, this is significantly different than baby blues. So with baby blues, you may have one day or maybe 2 days in which you're like, okay, I don't feel like showering for today. Or you may feel like, I really don't want to fix my hair today. 1 or 2 days of that, I mean, someone would say like, "Ooh, no, you didn't take a bath for 2 days." I mean, baby blues is serious, just as well as postpartum depression, and you have to be realistic and logical about these things happening. So in baby blues, it may be 1 day, it may be 2 days, but it's not as consistent as postpartum depression. Now with postpartum depression, the self-neglect, you will notice the self-neglect. The self-neglect is obvious. If not obvious to you, it will be obvious to the people that are around you, the people that love you and that are there for you. So you want to be very mindful. So make sure you're taking notes and you're asking yourself, when was the last time I bathed myself? When was the last time I brushed my teeth? When was the last time I washed my face? When was the last time I actually ate a meal? When was the last time I took a drink of water? When was the last time that I actually got from bed and walked around? You want to take you want to be very observant with these types of things, because if you aren't, I'm going to be honest and say the days are going to just fly past you. If you're tracking and observing your emotions and your feelings and your self-care and maintenance, you will notice that these things are happening to you. For example, you can notice that, hey, you haven't washed your hair in a month. You haven't washed your hair in 2 months. If you're tracking these things, you'll be able to immediately determine that you are experiencing some postpartum depression. And honestly speaking, do not berate yourself for this. Do not feel down about this. This is normal. This is so normal. And oftentimes the world make us feel like it's not normal for when a woman is bringing life into this world and her hormones are all over the place. They're trying to get back into a state before pregnancy, and a woman will experience some drastic changes within her body, within her mental state, and the world needs to be completely open and empathetic and accepting to that. So I don't want you to be hard on yourself if you're watching this video and you find out, wow, it's actually been quite some time since I've taken care of myself. And you can get help and treatment for postpartum depression. And it is not your fault. It is not something that you did wrong. It is just something, it's just the beauty of giving birth, to be honest. Number 3 of symptoms that you could be experiencing postpartum depression, we're going to talk about self-talk. In particular, negative self-talk, negative self-feeling, negative versions of yourself, seeing yourself in a negative light. And this is very common in individuals experiencing depression. I'm here to tell you that the negative self-talk, the negative feelings, the negative view of yourself is non-stop. It is very persistent. It is very consistent. And it is creating just a terrible view of you when you look at yourself in the mirror. And now when I'm talking about negative self-talk, I'm talking about looking in the mirror and telling yourself, I'm ugly. Or looking at that birth weight, that pregnancy weight that hasn't quite come off yet. You're looking at that pregnancy weight and telling yourself, God, I am so fat. I am so fat. I am so ugly. I'm so worthless. I am just a loser. You see where I'm going here? I'm just a loser. No one loves me. The baby hates me. The baby is crying all day. My husband thinks I'm fat and ugly. You see where I'm going with this negative trail here? That is what I'm talking about when I'm saying the negative self-talk, the negative feelings of worthlessness, just painting yourself in this absolutely terrible disposition when all of those things are simply not true. Okay, they're not. You have to ask yourself what is true and what is not. And honestly, you cannot trust your feelings. You cannot trust your self-talk at this point. And if you are feeling this particular symptom, this feeling of worthlessness, this feeling of self-loathing, it's time to track that as well, observe that, and if it is happening on a consistent and persistent basis, yes, you are definitely experiencing some postpartum there. And it is so imperative. It is very imperative for you to go ahead and schedule an appointment with your doctor to seek some medical treatment for that. The 4th symptom on this list are your interactions with baby. Now, this can go 2 ways. This can go 2 different ways. The most common symptom of postpartum depression, when we're talking about interactions with the baby, it could be involving not feeling a connection with your baby. You feel as if you do not have a connection with your baby. You may feel as if you don't like your baby. You may feel as if you don't want to have anything to do with your baby. Now, I know that some women or men could say, why don't you care about your baby? Something is wrong with you and things of that nature. But when it comes to postpartum depression, no one, and I said everyone experience is different, and no one can take away or dismiss your legitimate feelings when you're going through postpartum depression. And I want to make that clear to you. If you have people surrounding you making you feel guilty or making you feel as if you are a horrible and terrible mother because of your initial interactions with your baby. Like I said, this is something that is normal and something that, yes, you will need help and you will need treatment for. So let's talk about that interaction with the baby. You may have some negative interactions with your baby. You may not want to hold your baby. You may want your baby to simply cry. When you look at your baby, you may just want to cry. You just have that feeling of disconnect with your baby. And as I stated before, that is also common as well when you're experiencing postpartum depression. And because you know and understand this, if you feel and know and understand that you are having these kind of feelings around your baby, it is imperative that you immediately go to seek help, because you need that buffer. You need someone that you can speak with to help you get these feelings under control, because your baby needs you. And you are very essential and important to that small life that you just brought into this world. So it's important for you to get those feelings and emotions under control. Now, as for me, my particular situation was quite different. I didn't have any negative emotions towards my baby. My particular postpartum issue in this spectrum with my baby came from paranoia and anxiousness. And the reason why I say this is because my baby and we experienced a very traumatic birth story. We had a very traumatic labor and delivery in which my baby and we both almost lost our lives. So because that trauma, and the doctors themselves did say that from the birth, the labor and delivery experience that I had, they were honest with me and told me that I would experience some post-traumatic stress disorder. I would feel some anxiousness. I would legitimately experience some PTSD. And because of this labor and delivery issue, I developed a kind of paranoid anxiousness concerning my baby. Basically being extremely overprotective. No one can talk to him. No one can look at him. No one can breathe over my baby. I have to have him within my eyesight every second, every minute, every hour of the day, because I'm so terrified and afraid of losing him. There are moments in which my husband felt like he couldn't be there for our son. He couldn't help alleviate some of the burden or alleviate some of the challenges of having a child, because I just didn't want to release my baby. I didn't want to give up any kind of power over my baby to anyone else. And my husband is the father of this baby. So it created a terrible toll, even on my older children, who wanted to hold their baby brother, kiss their baby brother, and love on their baby brother. And this had gotten to such a point, it had elevated to such a point in which if I released my child to my husband or to my oldest son, and I hear my baby cry, I'm jumping up out the bed and I'm springing to wherever my baby and wherever they have my baby, and I'm just screaming, "What happened? What did you guys do? You guys hurt my baby." And honestly, he could be crying just because a baby is simply crying. It took me quite some time to release that power and that hold and that anxiety I had for my baby. It took a really long time for me to release that hold. And so if you're experiencing negative emotions, negative feelings, or that overwhelming anxiety when it comes to the interaction of your baby. And it's consistent. Again, it must be consistent and persistent, and have a depth of intensity. Yes, you could be experiencing postpartum depression. Last item on my list, I'm going to talk about physical pains. Now, I know that yes, you've just had a baby. You will experience some physical pains. But I'm talking about after the postnatal care, after your postnatal healing, which typically occurs around 6 to 8 weeks. After that time frame, of course, if you had a C-section, or in my case, an emergency C-section, it may take a little longer. But after those first 6 to 8 weeks, 13 weeks max, your body's should feel a little normal. Even though it's not back to normal, your body should still feel a bit normal. So when you're experiencing these overwhelming emotions and feelings on a consistent and persistent basis, you're bound to go to step 5. You're bound to feel these body aches and pains. And it's occurring simply because you are in this depressive state. And when I talk about pain, I'm talking about physical pain. Your shoulders hurt, your back hurt, your neck hurt, your waist hurt. You could be experiencing all kind of bodily pain. And it's persisting for quite some time. And you feel as if you've done everything that you needed to stop these aches and pains. Example, you're soaking in a nice warm bath. You're taking a shower. You're having your postnatal massage. You're going to a salon to get a postnatal massage. You feel as if you're doing everything in your power to stop these body aches and pains, but you could be experiencing these pains simply because you are going through all the 4 things on this list. And it's overwhelming, it's quite stressful, and literally depression, if you do not know, depression will cause all kinds of bodily pains. And that is very true. They will cause all kinds of bodily pain. And this is typically why you may be experiencing this, especially if you're not getting enough sleep, because you're constantly up crying, looking at the baby, all of this negative self-talk. You could be tossing and turning at night, not sleeping well on your pillow, things like that. And you're just creating a breeding ground for bodily aches and pains. And these are one of the things, and this is something that I experienced during my postpartum depression phase. A lot of body aches and pain. It got so extreme that I honestly had to go to the doctor, and she suggested lidocaine shots in my neck, lidocaine shots in my shoulders. And I am not a fan of needles at all. And when I say that I cried each and every time that I had to go in for these lidocaine injections, to just help with the persistent neck and back and shoulder and waist pain, that is something that you do not want to experience. And another reason why you could be experiencing these pains, blood clots. Yes, blood clots. It could be because of your depression, or it could be another underlying issue such as blood clots. And this is something that I also dealt with after having my son. I had a lot of blood clots, or what they would like to call, medical professionals like to call pulmonary embolism. I had blood clots in both of my lungs, and that also contributed to some of the back pain, not being able to breathe, having short breaths, feeling as if my whole body was about to collapse on itself. So it also could point to other underlying issues, which again, If you're experiencing these, you really should go in to your primary care physician and really talk about some of these things that you're experiencing. But body aches and pains is definitely one of those things if you're experiencing extreme depression and it's happening for quite a duration of time. Again, as I said, there are many other symptoms that you can be experiencing. Suicidal ideations are one of those things. Irritability, you're just irritable and moody at every step, every second, every minute, every hour. Those are some other symptoms. But for now, those are my top 5 symptoms that I've personally experienced, and that I know that some other women around the world are experiencing when it comes to basically realizing that they have postpartum depression. So if you are experiencing these things, again, my advice is for you to go in and get medical care and medical treatment for these issues. Please become aware, become educated, and do what is best for you and your new life. That is it for today's video. Thank you for joining me, my queens, and I will see you all in the next video. Go out and have yourself a majestic day.